Going back to women in archery.
Yes.
What unique challenges, or maybe there's a different word you'd like to use, do women face in archery, both as athletes and as coaches?
Coaches? Nothing.
Okay.
There is no reason, apart from personal circumstance.
Yeah.
From a coaching point of view, nothing. I don't accept that apart from a woman's personal circumstances, nothing else really stops you going through and progressing.
The whole thing with what started me kind of down the whole road was really when Owen and I were talking about going out and shooting. And I was talking about, what if you got caught short when you're out? And then I was thinking, okay, so people have periods.
Yes, we have a fact sheet. Basically, it's a period pack. If it should be on the IFAF. I don't know if it's on the Women in IFAA page on IFAA website at the moment. And the IFAF page, it should be part of the resources, because that was done last year. If it's not there, I will get on to Nick to make sure that it goes up, because it was supposed to have gone up. But basically, it's an A4 sheet and it tells you what to take. And it's all in a purse. Everything fits. And in that, you have things like tampons, pads, and take both. If you use tampons, take pads, because
you might not have a suitable location to change them properly and whatever. Not
just that. Usually, I can explain a bit more about that in a minute, but usually, and you've wet wipes, I recommend you take whatever painkillers you use personally.
Yeah.
Spare pair of knickers, wet wipes. I can't remember what, I would have to look in it to see exactly what's there. Oh, a small disposable bag, a small waste bag. Part of the coaching now, we specify these things. All coaches are given that information. The period pack sheet is handed to every coach. Now, on the circumstance where you get caught out and you want a wee, and even in international competitions, mostly what you'll get is the ladies will stand around the back of one lady will stand in front of the boss, and two ladies will just stand around while you take a quiet pee behind the butt. That has been done many times when I've been in Germany, Austria, wherever. Not in Brazil, but then again, there were great big ants. But in fact, in Brazil, toilet facilities were everywhere. It's unbelievable. They really had it down. Brazil did it really well. For instance, in Ireland, if you're shooting with a group of women, I always get put with men, but then again, I just tell them, go away if I want to pee. But you learn on the courses where the loos are and at what targets you can get out of them. And you have to be a bit mindful if you're a girl. You have to. But as for getting caught short, if you're using tampons, sometimes it's nice to have a pad just to put inside your knickers as that barrier, because if your pants are soiled, if your knickers are soiled, it can be very uncomfortable on a day like this.
Absolutely.
And this is why we advise in the pack there's wet wipes as well, suggested. But it's all in a purse, which every woman of period age should throw in their pack as standard.
Even maybe women who don't have periods anymore, just in case somebody's caught out or something.
I have tampons in my car all the time. Usually I have a period pack in my car, but I think something that might be needed to be developed is perhaps clubs get more involved on this side, so that when women, one of the big issues at which a question was brought up before, a guy turned around to me and said, why are women so special? I said, because they have periods, they get pregnant, they go through menopause. And I said,
and perimenopause.
Oh, and that. I didn't do that. I just went from fine to menopause. And believe you me, that is not fun because you drop right off the edge of a cliff. No fun, that aside. So I said, these things are relevant. Oh, well, what relevance do they have to the likes of me? And I said, if you're coaching a gentleman that is well overweight or has rather large breasts, all the information I'm giving you here will also apply to them, but it's specific to women because of pregnancy.
But also, sorry, if you're coaching, you should give a shit about all of your...
But you've still got to remember, men don't like talking this shit.
Well, a lot of women don't either. There's a lot of women who are going to listen to this, hopefully. I'm hoping to get female listeners more involved because, again, our female listenership is far less than our male listenership, which I find interesting. I think it's still this very traditional, antiquated Irish way of thinking. It's shameful to talk about periods. It's shameful to talk about menopause. Like when I was growing up and women were talking about it, there was always this kind of whisper or this weird voice that they put on when they were talking about this stuff because, you know, you don't talk about that. But it's a fact of, excuse my language, fucking life.
Oh, it is.
And part of my thinking is if people were more open about these subjects, there'd be a lot less shame, a lot less kind of stigma, a lot less of that kind of stuff. Menopause and stuff. How does that affect women in archery?
Physically, menopause you lose a lot of things.
Can you dump perimenopause in with this, or is that?
Perimenopause has very similar issues, but not quite the same. Once your body stops producing the hormones altogether, once you hit menopause, unless you're taking HRT, and even with HRT, because it's just at a maintenance dosage, you start losing muscle mass. Your focus isn't what it used to be. Your eyesight ain't what it used to be. You can have issues with bones, osteoporosis, osteopenia, which can affect you going out on a rough course. Your mobility is reduced, so it makes it harder for a woman to be able to physically do the same. It also means that not just women, this applies to men as well. As you get older, your bow weight has to come down as you lose muscle mass, because you're not capable of drawing the same poundage. I'm lucky, but then again, I was working with horses for most of my life, throwing around hay bales and bags of feed. I'm okay at the moment. I'm still at 35 pounds, but I do expect to have to drop back possibly to 25 pounds at some point if I continue. So it's a big thing. Pregnancy, obviously, the belly gets in the way. Things like heat, menopause as well. A lot of these things aren't specific to menopause. Pregnant women can get hot flushes and don't cope with the heat the same as menopausal women. So there are lots of things. Focus goes with menopausal women and
I'm going to be absolutely screwed.
Perimenopausal women. It depends which way you go. Now, for me, like I say, menopause, there was no perimenopause, just stopped, bang. And I fell off a cliff. However, after 18 months of fighting with my doctor, I finally went private to the menopause hub. And within a couple of months of taking HRT, because I couldn't drive, driving to Cork City was as most I could do. But within 3 or 4 months, I was able to drive because the anxiety had gone. I was able to sleep. I hadn't slept for 2 years, more than 2 hours a night. Mm-hmm. I was able to sleep. My life is back on track. But not all women are capable of taking HRT. Yeah. So for me to be back to some sort of normality and not be like, oh God, my poor husband, don't know how he survived the experience. But some women won't be able to do that. So their deterioration after menopause, if they cannot take HRT, can be quite rapid.
Yeah.
The hot flushes, and then what nobody tells you about. They tell you all about the hot flushes. Nobody tells you about the cold sweats immediately afterwards.
Lovely.
That is horrendous. I work in a controlled environment. So the hot flushes come on, and you're peeling off your clothes as fast as you can. And everything settles down. You think, oh, thank God for that. And then you go into cold, absolutely freezing cold, and you can't get enough clothes on. Now, what that does to you mentally is horrendous anyway, because you just cannot function like it.
And like a time bomb, isn't it? Like, when's it going to happen again?
And that could happen 4 or 5 times in an hour.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely horrendous. And when you get women that turn around halfway through a shoot and say, I can't do this, I'm going home in tears, because they just cannot physically cope with what's happening to their bodies. At that point, you just need to put your arm around them and go, come on, we'll head back to the start. Go and get yourself a cup of tea and see how you feel afterwards. If you want to come back to the group, we'll pick you up at lunchtime. Or sometimes you just have to understand. But the things you can do as a woman going to a shoot and you're in that situation, ask to be put with other women of your same age.
Yeah.
Ask to be put with... I'm quite happy. The poor lads have had to put up with menopause talks at the club. They're happy with it. But if you're really struggling, I'm quite happy to go out with somebody who's struggling with menopause symptoms or perimenopause symptoms, and quite happily walk away from my day shooting just to help that woman go back.
Yeah.
But all we need is a bit of compassion, a bit of tolerance.
Yeah.
There are women that are going out there and they want scores. I'm not one of them women. Although I compete internationally, I don't care if I score or don't. I go out for the crack. Go out because I want to. So it would, if a woman asked me, would you go around with me because I'm suffering from this? Now, unless I was online or big training, it would be very rare I would say, sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
My response would be, okay, we'll go out and see how far the day goes. And now I would encourage them to keep going if they could, because even if you don't score well, but you complete that course, the next time you go out, you've got a positive mental attitude. Absolutely. This is why female coaching
is so important.
Yeah, and this is why we introduce the period pack at level 1 coaching.
Yeah.
Because even if a female coach never goes any further than being a level 1 because of her time commitments and family commitments, which is perfectly fine, she will be able to equip any of her junior females going out on a course, which is so important. Also, young women, teenage women, don't necessarily like discussing that sort of thing with men. They were much more comfortable. I actually had a male coach come over to me and went, this girl has got huge boobs and she's really having difficulty, but I don't want to address it. Will you? Yeah, of course I will.
Yeah.
But equally, when you've got a young teenage guy that is, say, slightly overweight and does have similar issues, a pregnant woman with stomach clearance, boob clearance, they don't want to be discussing that with me. An adolescent lad does not want to be discussing body parts with me. It doesn't want to be discussing arms and legs, let alone anything else. So that's where you, as a thinking coach, you defer to a male coach. Can you go and chat to this young fella for me? Because I know this young fella will be more comfortable. Knowing your limitations as a coach is as important as knowing what you know about coaching.
Yeah. And again, people who do coaching for the wrong reason and purely for their ego wouldn't get that.
No.
They could do more harm than good. Really.
Oh, they absolutely do more harm. That's an ongoing thing that I'm working with the work group within it, IFAA. Nick and I are working with looking at, there is a module now that we've introduced into the level 1 coaching course, Women in Archery, and particular issues, they're mainly health issues. To be perfectly honest, aside from periods, pregnancy, and menopause, which that counts for most women's lives, really they're the only particulars. But you've also got to remember that men, as they age, change. So you've got hormonal teenage boys, then you've got them being daddies and having to deal with all the shit that goes on at home, as well as going to archery. And then as they age, they have a lot of the same physical problems with depleting muscle mass as women do. Although women have a greater sort of upheaval in their lives around these times, men have them. And there is such a thing as a male menopause. Now, something like 15% of men will go through it, whereas 100% of women go through menopause. But even
still need to be mindful of that.
It is still things like aging is also very relevant with archery. Very relevant. And as coaches, we have to sometimes say to our male archers, look, you really should come down that poundage a bit. Now, they probably wouldn't take it from me, but they might take it from Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
So in that circumstance, I'd go on, Bill, go and have a chat to them.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to this woman about menopause, heart flushes.
Yeah.
So again, it's all about men and women can work really effectively together to benefit everybody. It
comes down to communication, doesn't it?
It does. I think pushing this need for special treatment for women, it's a bit much. It is a bit much. When really, are we going to increase the number of women in higher positions within the organizations? Or are we going to just make them feel more inadequate because they can't get to those because there's only special women that can? It's women with free time. It's women that have the finances, freedom of finance to be able to do it. I couldn't have, if I started archery in my 30s, like I say, I was widowed at 30. Do you imagine I could do what I'm doing now? It would be impossible. And we have to be realistic about what can be expected of women in archery.
Yeah.
It's far more important than anything else. Be realistic. I think I'm the only female coach at Cork. Louise will be. She's just on her leaving cert, so she couldn't do the last one because she was studying. So she's down to do the level 1, and she'll be another good female coach. She ain't afraid of anything either. Apparently, she's turning into a mini-me.
Lovely.
That's what I thought, poor girl.
No, I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean that as praise.
Oh, the lads didn't mean that as praise. I think as a group of women archers, we should be able to support each other. If a female coach comes to me with any issues with behaviour from a man that has really upset them, I will discuss this with Nick. And if necessary, Nick and I will take it to the committee. Or Nick will take it to the committee as head coach. But if women just go home and bitch about it, then we can't do anything to help them. And if women don't stand up for themselves a little bit, the people that are there that can help them can't help them.
Yeah.
So there are some female coaches that think I'm a bitch too, come to think of it. Quite a lot of them. But the thing about it is, if somebody upset any of the female coaches and they came to me with a serious issue, then I would address it the best I can. But if they won't stand up for themselves, nobody can help them. And yes, it is an historical issue that women don't stand their ground. But they're going to have to start standing their ground or stop whinging. And you can't have it both ways. So if you want men to stop being assholes in the archery community, then you have to tell them they're being assholes.
Yeah. If you are an asshole, I'm going to tell you you're an asshole. And if you think I'm an asshole, you can tell me I'm an asshole and we'll have a discussion. Communication is a big thing.
It is, but I suppose part of it is I'm antisocial. I really don't give a monkeys. But at the same time, if you're going to crib and bitch to people about how hard done by you are and do nothing about it, or then not like it when somebody goes, actually, I only reacted this way because you were an asshole. If you're not willing to do that, then tough. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, but women do need to start standing their ground.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be arsey. I'm arsey. But you don't have to be arsey. You can be condescending. That usually works. But if a guy is in your face, just go away until you calm down, then we'll discuss this later. And walk away. You don't have to stand there and take abuse. You don't have to listen to a rant. You can just go, sorry, bye. And people don't because they're afraid of offending people.
I think that's one of the there's lots of reasons that women won't stand up. Fear of retaliation is a huge one, obviously.
Yeah.
But also there are a small amount who would be kind of like, a man wouldn't like that, or it wouldn't be attractive. That's not what a woman does. It's a very traditional mindset in a lot of ways, but I know that the fear of retaliation would probably be the highest kind of one.
But they're like, calling out bad behavior should never be, there should be no retaliation.
There should be none, but there is.
Yeah, like I say, at our club, we're very lucky. There's a huge amount of Mickey to absolute horrendous amounts. I'm not particularly PC, and I don't claim to be. But at the same time, everybody can take the Mickey out of everybody. So kids take the Mickey out of adults as well.
Yeah.
And nobody's offended. If it does become out of hand, then the young person would be checked. But not in a harsh way, just like, you've taken that a bit too far, and let them digest it and let them get on with it. But it's never, won't speak to that person. We're all different personalities, so there are bound to be minor clashes. But I must say that the club ticks along really well. We don't have any cliques as such. Everybody, but I suppose it's the way the club is. Everybody will shoot on the line with anybody, shoots anyone else on your target.
But that's how it should be.
There's no, and apart from when we're doing, hopefully next year, I'm going to bring in some pins, achievement awards for the kids, and well, for adults as well. But then obviously when you've got a cub, they're not going to be shooting the same scores and distances as an adult recurve. So that it's great. It'll be graded. But in the most parts, the kids will shoot alongside any of the adults. I don't think there's any. Occasionally we get somebody come in new that's been shooting elsewhere before, and they get upset if they're moved from their target. But I just go in and say, sorry, we're using this target.
Yeah.
And especially if I'm training. If I'm on personal training with somebody and somebody goes in, oh, that's our target. No, it's not your target, it's the club's target. Tough. Find yourself another target to work with. I'm shooting here, I'm training with somebody.
Speaking of the younger members, how do you encourage them to get involved, and how do you retain them in the club? Do most of your younger members join with a family member, or do they come along obviously with an adult on their own?
We've a lot of sideline parents, I'm afraid. I think we just make it fun. I'm not sure how it works. If we retain 2 or 3 people out of a beginner's class, we're happy with that. Now, anybody that really gets a notion for it will stay. And we've had situations where one family, this one guy was already shooting, had shot before, I think, and his two daughters did the course. And then his partner's son did the course, and now his partner's doing the course. She's doing it with me, only because she can only do certain weeks. So I'm just going through it at her pace.
Sure.
Because of her work commitments. So between her work commitments, I think it's taken her about 8 weeks to do 3. But it's just what she can slot in, and that's perfectly fine. But I think the family barbecue day seems to have been, we've only done it for about 2 years since COVID, and it seems to be a massive thing. It's a big draw, and it's just gets bigger and bigger every year, and people just come to chill and chat, and it's very informal, and they get to know people in the club, and do you know what, I might do the beginner's course, and they do the beginner's course, and then they already know people, and they just stay. For young people, now we've got one young lad. I've been his responsible adult, God help his parents, on one or two occasions at shoots, because I happened to be going to a shoot. He wanted to do it, but he's a junior, so he needed a responsible adult, and we're quite willing to stand up to be responsible adults for a shoot day, so a parent can drop a teenager, go away, do whatever they want to do wherever they're going, and come back for them. We've also accommodated taking juniors to competitions. They obviously have to go with a coach because they're vetted, and usually we don't travel alone, but normally we would try to have another person in the car. But it doesn't always work that way. I've taken teenage lads and been their responsible adult for the day, but I've met their parents, and their parents have spoken to me, and they're okay with it. So that actually takes it out of the GARDA vetting situation, because it's then a personal agreement between two. But I've taken young lads. I've taken a number. Louise used to travel with me a lot. And I think if you're willing to do that a little bit as a club, I'm sure Owen does. Owen, he would be the sort of guy that would say, if you can't, I'll be his responsible adult for the day.
He has offered with our son, because obviously my first 2 forays into the forest didn't work very well. And so he was saying, if my son wants to go out there and shoot and Mal can't take him or whatever, then he and Michelle would be happy to be the responsible adult for him.
And I think that's what the sport needs to retain youngsters. Quite a few, from an IFAF perspective, it seems that quite a few people do the course because their kiddies are going to do the course. And then when they realise they cannot go out on the course on their own, the parent or the grandparent will do the course as well, so that they can go away to shoot. So that I think kids are fickle.
Yep.
So retaining them just depends on how well they take to it. And it seems the kids that stay and really enjoy it are the kids that aren't into team sports. They're the kids that don't want to do GA or rugby or soccer. They're not into that sort of thing. They're not into athletics. They're just not physically sporty, typically sporty. But they find standing on the line and shooting, or going out in a group of 4, less intimidating than standing on a line with a group of people. So I think it's particular mindsets, as opposed to trying to keep everybody. It doesn't suit. I've got my grandchildren. My grandson, I bought him a bow, taught him to shoot. He'll shoot 3 or 4 rounds and he's sick of it. My granddaughter, on the other hand, trying to prise the bow back out of her hand and tell her you've had enough because you're going to hurt yourself is a whole different ball game. So I think it just depends on the child and how comfortable they feel in the environment they're in.
Going back to, I suppose, what you were saying about promoting for women and keeping women involved and stuff, you can't if it doesn't suit.
Oh, you can't.
There's no magical potion for it.
There isn't. If I thought about it, would I have stayed in archery were it not for Phoebe? No, I wouldn't have. it was 2 chance meetings and comments. It was meeting Thomas Coakley and him saying, come up to the club, come and do this shoot.
Yeah.
And me getting up there and going, nah. Because I was then standing on the line with people that had been shooting about the same distance of time as myself, but really hitting. And I'm thinking, why can't I? I couldn't, because I didn't get the training.
Exactly, yeah.
And if it hadn't been for Phoebe's input, I would have walked away because I was getting frustrated. Best 2 hours of my life. And I think it's the women that are in positions to encourage, coaches, people like Marianne. She's a coach and she's the IFAF chair. It's people like that need to be the ones that help the women that are struggling. Now, Marianne, the first field shot I ever shot was with Marianne and another lady called Elaine. And I had never, ever, it was my very first shot, 3D shoot. I had no idea what I was going into, and I shot it. They had me in fits, and they were guiding me the whole time. Elaine Foran, that was her name. And they guided me the whole time. We spent the whole time laughing, crying with laughter at some points. At one point, I was at full draw, and Marianne was an experienced archer at the time. And I was coming to full draw, but I wasn't breathing. And she said, don't forget to breathe. And I collapsed in fits of laughter and had to come down. And I thought, it never dawned on me that I wasn't breathing. But at full draw, I stopped breathing. And it was things like that. Now, we had I enjoyed myself. I had such a good time with these 2 ladies. And they were hosting UKIFAC. And they said to me, oh, that's happening in a couple of months. Why don't you sign up for that? So they badgered me all day about signing up for it. And I thought, well, so my second shoot was an international shoot. What's more, it wasn't 3D. It was field archery.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Marianne was in my group. Thank God. And we got to about the 3rd target, and I said, Marianne, where are the 3Ds? And she said, oh, didn't I tell you? Marianne has a lot to answer for. But it was Marianne and Elaine, my first experience on my first day out at a 3D shoot, that encouraged me to come back. And I just kept coming back then. I was going to competitions. I was the only one from my club doing field competitions. So I was driving there all on my own, not knowing what to expect. I nearly crapped myself when I drove in to UKIFAC. Where did all these fucking cars come from? And I was there then. My hotel was booked. I had no choice. And I just thought, oh, well, suck it up, get on with it.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's just bite the bullet and get on with it.
But I'm that sort of person, but not every woman is. Some women need leading by the hand a little bit. And men aren't going to do it. So it has to be other women archers that do that leading. And I've got to admit that the vast majority of women archers that I've dealt with over the years have been great. There have been 1 or 2 thundering bitches. But then again, I'm considered a thundering bitch, and that is just life.
Yeah.
In the most part, even internationally, I've found that the women I've shot with have been very encouraging and very supportive. And I can't say that even shooting internationally, I have not experienced a bad group of women. Maybe 1 or 2 women that they've not made the day the most pleasant, but you get that. And that is part of the nature of the shooting system.
Yeah.
You're going to be put in a group with you don't know who. And you start the day with a cheerful outlook and try to get on. And what I found is if you start on a good note, and most people, even if you don't speak the same language, we can all manage and we will all help each other. Mistakes can be made. Shooting order mistakes can be made, but you don't have to be an asshole over it. Some people are. Some people can be. And if you're shooting internationally, you have to accept, okay, I shot out of order. I'm sorry. But in the most part, while you're talking around the course, they will help you. If you forget which order, whoever's scoring usually knows who's shooting next, who's up next. So I've always found that other women will guide you without any bitterness or harshness. One or two, you're shooting an international competition, you should know better. Yeah, possibly, but it's my first one. I'm going to make mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you don't let it bother you, now like I say, I've been very lucky. I've never been in a group where I've just wished the day would end. I've been in a group where we've all wished the day would end because it's pissing rain. But I have heard women have told me of their own experiences where they've been with a very bad group for a day and it's almost put them off. And my advice to them is, look, you probably will never be in that group again, that particular group of women. And maybe when they're separated out, they're not as bad. And I always say, look, give it another go. If it's a shoot I'm going to and it's possible, I'll say, look, why don't you ask if you can shoot in my shooting group? Just to give them some bit of confidence going back out on that field. So sometimes you need to go to a shoot, and it's easier locally, it's easily done at home, where you go, look, this particular archer had a very bad experience and she's asked, can she shoot with me? Or they ask themselves. Now, I've done that a few times and never had a problem with changing groups or anything. So there are very small things that you can do to encourage women not to give it up.
My first time shooting down Blackcastle, I thought we were all splitting up into different groups because I volunteered to go with somebody from their club. But it was nice because I'm always getting confused. I think her name was Marie or Maria, which is terrible. I really should know. It was herself and her child, and it was just the three of us. But she was, have you shot outdoors before? I was like, no. And literally, she explained everything to me every time we were shooting, like every target. Nice 3D targets. And she was like, this is this, and that's that, and this is this. And any question I had, she answered, and she was brilliant.
See, that's all women can do for other women. You can't. I know that some of the executives nationally and internationally think there has to be this big drive to make women, but I don't think that's the way to go. I don't think that's going to change anything. I think it's the grassroots women archers that are going to be encouraging other females.
Yeah.
And helping them to enjoy a nice experience, a nice day out, so that they want to come back the next time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's all you can really do. I don't think you can do much more for women.
Based off of that day, I ended up signing up for the leash one. And nobody else from Strongbow had signed up at that stage. And I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. It's down the road. And because I had had such a good experience out with Marie or Maria from Blackcastle Archers, I was like, I'll just go and sign up for this and I'll go on my own and I'll be grand. Well, yeah, whatever. And I think you do have to have that kind of, just do it. Like, you can't sit there and just think about, oh, what if this and what if that. Just get out there and do it, really. Regardless of your gender, just get up and bloody do it.
I think once you do it once, especially if you have a good day out, you have a good experience, it becomes a lot easier. Say, I was very lucky, and the first group I got were hilarious. I had a great day out. At the end of the day, I don't know that I really knew what I was doing, but hey.
But you got out and you did it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Rather than sitting there going, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if blah, blah, blah? Just go and do it.
Yeah. I think I've quit 2 courses. One was through illness. I just couldn't. The other was through By the second target in, I was soaked through to my knickers. It was raining so hard, and that was it.
Yeah.
Once my knickers got wet, I was going home.
Yeah.
And I left I left at lunchtime. I went back to the hotel because it was a 2-day event. That's the only other time I've quit. If you quit, first thing you do is you start reprimanding yourself for quitting. And the second thing you do then is you brood on it. And the third thing you do is you go into your next shoot with a negative attitude. That is not good for focus. So this is my advice as a coach.
Sure.
Do that. Complete the course. Even if you got down to, the last shoot I was at, one of the guys was down to 2 hours and I had to lend him arrows just to get him through the course.
Yeah.
So even if you're down to 2 arrows, my attitude is, sod it. I have 3 more targets, 2 arrows. I have 2 targets with arrows, and if I don't have any more arrows after that, so what? I might find one of the arrows I lose.
Yeah.
But I will try and complete the course. And
I quit both. I quit both.
But you had reason.
Yeah, and then the second one, I literally pushed myself to the next target. So I did 1 extra target to the previous time. And that was really important to me to actually go 1 step further.
So, yes.
And then I was like, okay, that's okay now. You've done what you can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not I'm not going against what you were saying, but from my perspective, I was like, I got in the car. And the only thing I brooded about was that fall that I had at the start. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Yeah.
Because that really fucked me off. And I was like, that's the only thing I brooded about for a week afterwards, because I was so embarrassed about that. Quitting and everything else, I was like, it's okay, you did what you could do.
Yeah, but not everybody does. The vast majority of people reprimand themselves.
And that's the thing. And other people have said to me, how do you not do that? And I'm like, I don't know. But I just don't. And I don't know if it goes back to, like I was saying before, I used to volunteer with addicts and homeless people. And for a while, I took it all home with me. I'd come home and be like, I should be able to do this, and this should be blah, 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 blah. And then after a while, I was getting really depressed. And I was like, Jesus, I'm not helping myself and I'm not helping them.
No.
And I think that changed my mindset a huge amount. So if I do go and I shoot shit, or this happens or that happens, I'm not going to bring that home. I'm not going to think about it once I leave the hall, because it's not going to change anything.
No, it's gone. It's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it also depends. Like, when I shot in leash, I didn't think I'd shot that well, but apparently I broke a record, so I can't have shot that badly. So I was happy.
Yeah, well done.
But I shot what I shot.
Yeah. You didn't go out there for it. You just did it.
Once it's done.
Yeah.
But yes, very competitive people, they just go over and over. And what it does is it fucks up their focus for the next time.
Yeah.
But that's a lesson they can only learn themselves.
Yeah. It probably seems like quite an abrupt ending to the interview, but we did actually finish up there. We were recording on the hottest day of the year so far at 31 degrees. So we were both fairly hot and tired. Colleen very graciously had driven up from West Cork for the interview, and she drove home straight away afterwards. And I am massively appreciative of her making that effort. I hope everyone enjoyed the interview. And if you've any questions or comments, the information on where to reach us is listed in the show notes as always. And information on how to obtain the period pack sheet is also in the show notes for both episodes. So once again, thank you so much to Colleen. And once again, thank you to all our listeners. Next week will be my interview with Michelle. She's one of the co-founders of Strongbow Archers and someone who I have a hell of a lot of time for. And we have a chat about sustainability, about Michelle's journey in archery. And I have no script for what I'm doing right now, hence my waffle, so I do apologise. After that, the next week, I'm hoping to have an interview with one of our listeners, Jane. She actually emailed me and I went back to her and said, hey, would you like to be on the podcast? And she said, great. Well, she didn't say great, but she said she would. I think she's a bit nervous. It's all good. No need to be nervous. And I think she's on episode 8, so she's not going to hear this anyway for a while. So I have to try and figure out how to do that, because I haven't interviewed anyone remotely yet, but hopefully she'll be the week after. If not, it'll be back to Owen and myself, and we'll have Jane on one of the following weeks. But I'm really looking forward to talking to her. And an archer who I've never met before. And she's also with Archery Ireland, so that's going to be quite interesting as well. On that note, I'll shut up and let you get on with your lives. If I was an emotional person, I'd say I love you all, but I'm not. So I'll just say stay by the wall and mind the arrows.